here on the northeast side of Thoddoo Island in the Maldives. It's an agricultural island, and the big question is, how are the reefs in the context of climate change and pollution? Got with me Dr. Professor Sandy Tudhope from the University of Edinburgh, who's going to tell us his initial reaction.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so we've just gone down here. We're on the 4 reef slope, and we've got about 30 or 40% coral cover, which is reasonable, but in these kind of 4 reef environments, in a fully healthy reef that hasn't been disturbed, you'd expect to see somewhere in the 60 or 70 or maybe even 80% coral cover. There's quite a few fish, but there aren't as many as you might expect. We don't see any sign of macroalgae, which could be, so macroalgae can be an indicator of pollution, so that's a good sign.
We're on the other side now of Thoddoo Island in the Maldives, this agricultural island. Right below us we can see a big hummock of what was coral, half alive, half dead. Sandy, what can you tell us?
Well, it's a Parietes coral, and as you say, half of it's now dead. There's a number of things that could have done that. It could be disease that's affected half of it. It could be crown of thorn starfish, or it could be this Drupella gastropod that could also predate on corals. So we'll go down and see if we can get any more clues as to what that was. In a general sense, there's a little bit more fish life here. But there's still only about 20% coral cover, and it's not very high diversity. We're really being dominated by these massive Parietes corals with just a few branching ones there.
Okay, Sandy, we're back up from looking at this third location. A lot of coral bleaching, but tell us what you're seeing.
Okay, so I see a lot of dead coral, but I don't see a lot of active coral bleaching. So the corals that are alive are looking, by and large, fairly healthy, but there's a lot of dead coral around, particularly the branching corals. It's kind of hard to say exactly how long they've been dead, but it's a few years. It's not a decade,
okay,
but it's probably more than a year.
And they're surviving somehow dead in the water, but not being broken up yet.
Exactly. So they've got quite a robust framework, structure. Their skeletons are fairly robust. And so that they will stay there, and they'll just gradually be worn down.
By the storms?
By the storms, or by biological processes that erode them.
Sandy, what about the fish? So I saw down there lots of little tiger fish nibbling away at the algae. What does that mean, and how does that interact with the whole pollution, coral health question?
So the fish that you're talking about, there was a big school of them, maybe a few hundred fish, and they're grazers. So that particular group is going around and it's grazing, it's taking the algae off. So the importance of that is that it can mitigate some of the potential impacts of pollution, because even if the pollution is encouraging growth of algae, if you've got enough grazers there, the algae get grazed back. That's kind of key for a coral reef ecosystem, because space is everything for these animals that live on the seabed.
We saw a shark there. Is there any interaction? Should we be seeing sharks, lots or few? What's the interaction?
We saw, I think, 2 sharks. They're little reef sharks. If you were on a reef that hadn't had man on it, you would have seen hundreds of sharks.
Okay, but if you had hundreds of sharks, wouldn't they all be eating all the herbivorous fish, so there'd be less herbivorous fish to eat back the algae?
No, the sharks are actually only taking the old and the infirm. So a large shark population simply implies that you've got a huge population of smaller animals.
Okay.
So sharks are not a threat.
Okay, Sandy, we're in the lagoon. It's our last diving place of the evening. This is right close into the agricultural land. Big question is the nitrate from the agricultural land having an effect on this inland reef? What I can see is lots of dead coral, a few little stands of coral sticking out of old humps The structure's gone, and we're left with something that I've got this sample in my hand of looks like sea anemones growing on the old coral. Do we know whether sea anemones love nitrate pollution at the expense of others, or is that something we've got to find out? What can you tell us?
Well, we don't know whether or not these are sea anemones that are loving nitrate. I really don't know. It's interesting because it's monospecific. It's just the whole surface of the old dead coral is now carpeted with these things that look like sea anemones. I think they might be zoanthids. I don't know if that's a reaction to nitrogen. I kind of doubt it. I think that these were living with the living coral to start off with.
Okay.
When the coral died, it's just taken over the surface.
And we're seeing plenty of fish still, and we see just now turtles. What's the turtle eating?
The turtle is eating some of the algae that it's managing to find on some of the dead structures.